How's the golf been?
Yeah, it's been all right.
Yeah.
Not too bad. I suppose like most people, sort of up and down. But
Yeah, sort of working your way through it.
Yeah.
And obviously, so you did the irons with us,
Yeah.
but then you also did a driver shaft with Matt as well.
Yeah. So that's definitely helped.
Yeah.
But in the set I've got a rescue club,
Yeah.
5 wood, 3 wood, and then my driver.
Yeah.
My woods, I don't know why, I just can't hit them at all at the minute. Really struggling to hit them.
Okay.
Driver's definitely better since the new shaft.
Yeah.
So happy to sort of go through whatever you recommend. I don't know whether I need to go rescue club 5, 3 again and the driver, or whether I can drop the rescue and just go 5 or 3 or whatever you recommend, really.
Yeah, well, we'll just have a look where the gapping is, and then also a little bit of a discussion about courses that you play, what sort of shots you tend to encompass, what sort of flights you require, and then we can fit for purpose, really, because they don't need to follow a traditional trend anymore, really. You know, the way I like to fit. If you're playing on tour or whatever, and you're playing different places every week, then you'll probably have every single club. You know, you have 5, 7s, 9s, 2 irons, 1 irons. But for you guys, if you're playing the same course week in, week out, you sort of know particular par 3s or 4s or 5s where you need particular shots, and we can almost fit the club specifically to do the job for you. So, so I'll get you to hit through everything. We'll capture some data, and then we'll basically go from there, John.
Yeah.
And you said you'd had operation on.
I've had. So I've got a plate in the bottom of my back. And then I've had my leg done a few times, but that's just a cyst that wraps around the nerve in my leg.
Right.
I've had shoulder surgery because I tore everything off the rotator cuff front and back, and then I've had tennis elbow surgery as well. So,
all right. Walking wounded.
Yeah.
Well, they do say, you know, beware the injured golfer, so you must be always under threat. So.
Yeah. No, it's not too, but playing's all right. It's, It's when I stand like now. So if we are going to chat, I'll probably end up sitting down for a bit, just because it's
no problem.
Standing still is the worst thing for me.
Yeah, no problem. Well, you know, you've been with us before. It's more quality over quantity. So if you need to take a breather between, I'd rather you take a seat, chill, have a chat, talk through the data, and then we go back and hit shots. You know, better data is better than just sort of machine gunning through it, so to speak. But you grab whatever you feel comfortable warming up with.
Okay.
John, I'll take some readings with the current sticks, and then we'll get rocking and rolling for you.
Thank you. Cool.
And how have the irons been generally?
Yeah.
John, you happy with them?
Yeah, really happy with them.
Yeah, good. Have they sort of, was it similar story when you first came in and saw us with Matt? Was it a similar sort of flight, and that was basically the briefing?
Yeah, that was one thing. Plus just fancied new clubs.
Yeah, some of these sticks, yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely say I'm more consistent with these. Particularly sort of like in the longer irons, I felt more comfortable hitting. So like certain holes, I wouldn't normally have got like definitely wouldn't have got my 5 iron out to tee off with, whereas now probably a bit more confident to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Just that dreaded shape.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you some 6 irons to hit.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. We can come back if you want now as well, John. We can get closer to this white peg here if you'd like.
Haven't been getting it that far. That much curvature hasn't been happening.
Yeah. Just face on that one. I mean, the club path we know is in to out, and actually you're relatively shallow in terms of your angle of attack. Not a particularly big divot taker, I would presume, from what I'm seeing here, if at all. but it's, to me today, it just looks like face to path is just a little bit closed, so it's just... Nice one. Good strike. Good again. So on course, would you typically aim close then? Would you?
Yeah.
What's your general sort of tendency?
Yeah. So if I've got, if like I use your screen now. So if I've got a, say where you've got that circle where my dispersion is at the minute. Say that's water.
Yeah.
Which is similar to one of our par threes.
Yeah,
I'm teeing off them. Say like this, like 138.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
I will set up as if I'm aiming. So if the pin was sort of say like here, just beyond the water, I'd aim sort of as, I'd feel as if I'm aiming here.
Yeah.
Because it's either,
I'll
say draw it, but it's going to bring it back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just on here, just trying to get our bearings for when we get into the woods. But see the gap in the back of the trees there.
Yeah.
There's almost there's a bunker at the back there. Just give me a couple down that channel, John.
Like here.
That's it. Yeah. Just straight down the middle there. Yeah. Because I may as well get you aligning like you would do. You know, obviously I want to try and neutralise flight, but I want you to also effectively play your natural shot shape as well. And distance-wise with your 6-iron, what are you sort of pulling out yardage-wise?
It's so difficult because of the summer conditions. It's so difficult to know how far it's carry. So probably carry would be about 160.
Yeah.
Sort of 165 at the most.
Yeah. Do you find you get quite a bit of rollout then? Do you?
So obviously, if I'm going for the green, I hit the green, then it's it stops okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm hitting a 6-iron, I don't know, off of a tee on a par 4 or something like that, then might run to like 200 yards.
Yeah.
It's got that total run out, so then it's deceiving how far it's carried.
Yeah.
Like there's one particular par 3 sort of over Warren, Overston, which off the white sits, if the pin's at the back, it's sort of 190. So I've been hitting my 5-iron into that, and it's sort of been pretty good distance-wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, sort of probably 165 maybe with this, and then sort of probably 180.
Yeah.
With the 5-iron.
Okay. If you're feeling warm, could we hit some 5-irons your top iron? Yeah.
Yeah.
Could we hit some 5-irons just so I can see where the top end of your iron bag is? Basically, obviously, I'm basing it on if we're talking 160 carry, 6-iron, probably presuming it's going to be 170 ish.
Yeah. If that was a green, I'd be all right, wouldn't I?
That's a better one. Sort of felt like that was the one where you held it off a little bit more. That's the sensation that I guess I'm sort of talking about.
It is, but then the nervousness for me, as soon as I hit that, so like what Greg's trying to get me to sort of work on is, I guess, as much sort of like ball strike as well as sort of like position. So like with the arms almost feeling like I'm coming through, and sort of my arm straighter. So that then, as soon as I hit that, that felt like shit, it's going to go way off to the right.
Yeah.
But actually, it's not.
Yeah.
Because it's just that just sensation. It just felt like I'd stay behind the ball a bit longer.
Yeah.
And then almost released easier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just controlling that face to path number for you a little bit, John. Because, and again, I'm sure you're probably fully aware of this working with Greg, but just with your irons, because I think this is obviously going to be quite the key as we move into the woods, right? What we call your deep plane is typically pointing to the left-hand side because your angle of attack is so shallow. In fact, it's actually slightly on the up with the irons. Everything effectively, face, path, everything points more left because of that. So then if we sort of carry that trend into the woods, what I'm effectively, for me, I'm going to have to try and give you something which is more sort of fade bias naturally and helps you sort of hold that face off a little bit. Now, I don't want to go too far down that direction because obviously I want to give you something which you can work with Greg and, technique and equipment meet in the middle, and that's where you play your most neutral golf from. But just so you kind of know what's going on in your technique as well, because you're hitting up on it, that basically gets your plane pointing left of target, and then you got your path is out to the right, which sort of neutralises that a little bit. But then if your face closes down, that's when the ball effectively starts left and goes left. So I know that shot for you felt like it was going to go right, but effectively that sensation's probably the right at the moment. It's probably the right sensation to try sort of neutralise your flight, I'd say.
Yeah, because that was like when I got these irons, what I wanted to try and make sure was I got irons that I could carry and have my lessons with and sort of like grow into them rather than almost like I didn't want the equipment to fix where I'm sort of where the ball's going and then my game improves and the sort of club path improves and then I've got a different problem. Yeah,
no, absolutely, definitely, and we get such a variety of golfer comes in. Some guys just want the equipment to just fit them there and then, and they can go out and play, and they haven't got the time to dedicate to the game per se. They just want to play better golf and enjoy it more. And then you got other clients like yourself who naturally are on the journey of trying to improve and get better, and you want something that's going to sort of travel with you. So that's take that on board, and when we're doing the fit. Yeah, good strike again. Okay, so I mean that's a little bit longer, but 176, 180, so in that sort of area carry-wise with 5-iron. And then you go up into hybrid, which is 19 free hybrid, so let's hit a few of those. See where that's at. What would you say the gap is at the moment between these, would you say? I mean, when I was hitting this sort of like comfortably and okay, which I haven't done for ages, I was probably getting maybe sort of 200, probably 195 for this. And then with the 5 would probably about 205, something like that. Yeah, so actually it's quite a nice progression then. Yeah. Any tendencies with this as a club? Any what, sorry? Any tendencies with it as a club, or strike pattern wise, or anything that you see? Just same sort of thing, yeah. But lower, a lot. Yeah, a lot like lower. Don't feel like you flight it with it. All right, and then let's have a hit with some 5s. Okay, let's hit some freeze. Thank you. So.
Oh, yeah.
Just get rid of that one for you. So would you say, you know, between the 3 and the 5 wood, would you say, you know, off the tee, would you hit the 3 wood mainly off the tee and the 5 would be off the deck, or do you play the 3 off the
I'll probably hit my 3 wood probably about half a dozen times in the last like 10 months. So I hit one off the tee the other night, which was all right.
Yeah.
Normally it'd be off the deck though. But
yeah.
I want to be comfortable enough to hit it off the tee, because there's certain holes where I should be hitting a 3 wood.
Yeah. Okay.
Not the
all
driver.
Right. And then let's hit some drives as well. Got a bit of an idea on the woods anyway.
Okay.
Tee height wise?
I normally use the pink, these pink ones.
Yeah.
I've got one in there.
Yeah, that should be not a million miles away if you peg it up next to it. Maybe down just a fraction.
Down it seems a little bit high.
Yeah, give that a go there. Hang on.
Jesus. Don't normally hit that to the left.
Yeah. I feel like it's been a bit more neutral with this one. Better one. Yeah. And flight-wise, you'd say low on the lower side?
Probably more consistent with the driver than it is with the other woods.
Yeah.
In terms of like height.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will occasionally. I'll hit a little bit of ground before the ball.
Yeah.
And it will sort of turn it over. But yeah, normally the flight's not too bad.
Yeah.
Definitely not as low as the first two I hit.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go one more for me, John. Then we'll talk some numbers and tell you my thoughts. That one started on a better line, should come back for you. Yeah, that's a nice set of numbers. Yeah.
That's more like the driver.
What you'd expect to see, yeah.
And distance-wise,
Yeah. If I put that into the optimizer tool, then you can see, you know, what we're effectively trying to do there, John, is get all those orange numbers or orange boxes into the blue box. This is your potential based on your club head speed, so 247 and 270. So you're a couple of yards down there, a couple of yards down there. So yeah, when you get it right with this as a setup, it's in a nice spot. Obviously, Matt has set it up in the flat setting, which you're capable of doing with the ping, which is a nice idea, nice concept to be able to do that as well. It will just help control face to path and get it started down the line a little bit easier for you. So I mean, that's one where if you've been having a positive experience with that, I mean, I think the shaft looks in a relatively good spot. I'll throw some new ideas at you for it. Looking at the fairway woods, I did get the impression that we could almost amalgamate these together. Yeah. I feel like the free wood maybe isn't getting used because it hasn't quite got enough loft on the face for you, and so therefore you're just leaving it in the bag, and then you do play the 5 wood, but I feel like we could maybe amalgamate those together and give you something where you feel like you can hit it off the deck and it's also quite useful off the tee. Potentially a little bit friendlier than those two designs. Good heads by all means, but I do feel like I could maybe give you something a little bit friendlier that you might appreciate, especially for shots off the deck. And then with the hybrid, the only sort of criticism I have of this one, measuring it up, is its swing weight's much heavier than the rest of the setup. Right. And much heavier than anything else you've got in your bag, so that the irons are just over D0 as a swing weight. The driver's just over D0 as a swing weight, and then these are bang around D1, and then you're into D3, and it just looked a little bit head heavy. Looked like it got a little bit stuck and on the inside, and then you were having to really sort of fetch it with the right hand, and it was almost exaggerating the shape for you. So maybe if I just give you something where the swing weight's a little bit more balanced than the hybrid, I feel like you'll time it a bit better. You might be able to neutralise that flight with it, but that's sort of the ideas I'd like to do. Let's tackle driver first and see if there's anything out there which is better than the existing gamer. That will then give us our sort of benchmark, and then it allows me to know where I need to get the other clubs to, from a gapping perspective. I know where the 5-iron is, so I know what we've got to deal with. It's sort of 185 carry, and then we're dealing in the region of about 15 yards between each club then, really. But I do feel like we could probably merge these two together to give you something which does both jobs, you know what I mean? So I don't feel like the free wood's really qualifying its value in the bag right now. How many wedges do you play? 2. Yeah, could be a case where...
I've got 55 and a 60.
Yeah, and then gap wedge.
A gap wedge.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so it was just whether there was another spot in the bag for something else, basically. It might even be, we find if we get the right hybrid, you might prefer having 2 hybrids, something that gives you a bit more height into par 4s, par 3s. So, but let me put something together in the driver for you, see if we can beat what you've got there. If not, we know that one sort of works, and obviously based on that last shot you hit with it, the data's in a good spot, so it's just shiny new toys really, just to see if there's anything off of the latest bits and bobs. Any questions on it at all?
No, that's fine.
I'll get cracking. How did you come across precision?
How did I come across it? It wasn't by word of mouth, because I live in Northampton, so I don't think many people have been here. So it must have just been the internet, like research. Okay. Might have been Instagram, might have popped up on there. Or I mean, to be honest, I know it wasn't. No, it was word of mouth, because Greg.
Greg's been here.
Greg's been here.
Yeah, I've fitted Greg myself. I know he'd been here.
So he's been here. But that was quite a while ago that he mentioned it, and then I just fancied some new clubs. Planted the seed at home.
Sometimes you're just in the mood for some shiny new toys,
But I did do a lot of research and watched a lot of videos before. Before sort of coming.
So with driver, let's dive into the numbers a little bit more before I put this together for you. Into here. So we're about 96, 97 miles an hour, club head speed on average. Ball speed there at 140, peaked out with that best strike there off of a 98 at 146, which is there or thereabouts as much as you would be capable of getting out of it, John. That's really efficient based on the club head speed there. Smash factor 1.50 being sort of optimal with drivers. That's sort of reflecting that's a really good transfer of energy, nice and efficient. Because you hit up on the ball quite a lot with woods and irons, you're always going to be somebody with that sweeping action that delivers lower spin but higher launch when you get it right. So for me, I think launch is really the key. You can see there that's up at 15 degrees, and that combined with that nice 2,500 spin, that's giving you a great combination of carry and total. So I'm trying to replicate this more often. Now, if I look at these shots, these are effectively the bad ones, right? you can notice the first thing is launch comes down.
Yeah.
Spin sort of stabilises a little bit, so we'll have a little look at strike pattern on the face, but straight away launch comes down. So that's where it's going to hurt you, because effectively it's going to dip out the air and you're going to lose it. By adding a little bit more loft onto the golf club, I'm actually hoping that we'll be able to effectively generate a bit more launch, keep the ball in the air a bit longer.
Yeah.
And based on where the strike point is, maybe give you a bit more spin in it. It'll just stay in the air with a little less shape on it, because the problem is with the woods is that as soon as it loses any spin, it starts to duck out the air quite quickly, especially from right to left.
Yeah.
So actually spin, to a certain extent, can be your friend.
Right.
And, you know, I've seen cases like this, even on tour. You know, I know Eddie Pepperell was playing a driver which was particularly low spin, and actually he didn't enjoy it because he felt like it was starting to shape too much. So then he went back to a previous driver from another manufacturer which created a bit more spin, and his statistics improved dramatically because he was able to keep the ball on the fairway effectively. So there's a lot of talk about low spin, but I think there's a bit of a tightrope depending on the technique as well. Based on if you drop too much spin, it starts shaping too much. So I think actually today, if we can give you a little bit more launch and spin, that might just stabilise your flight, help you hit a few more fairways. Don't want to go too high, don't want to lose any distance, but you know, as I say, if I could sort of replicate or get close to that best one you've hit there, but on a more consistent basis, I think that would really help you, because you can see how much distance you lose when you don't quite flight it. When really you're capable of getting it out to sort of 245, 250. So that's where I'd like to get it to. Angle attack, you definitely hit up on it. I would say, look, if we're talking about ideal world, if I'm talking about best drivers in the world, people like Rory McIlroy, for example, who does hit up on it, kind of 3 to 4 degrees when he's really going after one. You're at sort of 8. So if anything, I definitely don't want you to exaggerate how much more you hit up on it. If anything, I'd like you to maybe go the other way, where you feel like you're trying to squeeze it a fraction.
Okay.
And then in terms of club path, we'll see if that stabilises. But if the angle of attack comes down, I'd expect the club path to potentially come down a little bit as well in number. And then that face to path number, again, you can just see you controlled that face there. You held it actually 1 degree open, and that's why you hit such a nice little soft draw with it. So again, that sensation of maybe you just trying to feel like you hold the face off. So slightly down on it, hold the face off. I think that will give you the best numbers today. And I've put something together for you. I've stayed in the Ping family only because they're just super solid across the face. You know, really consistent for us this year. The G430. I've gone into a 12 degree head, but then I've got it lofted down to control face angle to open that up for you. And then I've got that weight very much in the fade bias area here, so more sort of behind that sort of toe strike. Let's have a little look at where the strike location was. Heel side. Missed a couple of them, and then that was actually your best one, but it was still a little bit toe side. So yeah, so I've positioned it sort of in the toe just to try and help keep that face a little bit more open as well. I've gone into a 65 gram shaft here. I've gone Oban Kyoshi HB.
Okay.
Might just drop a little bit of weight off that. It's a little bit heavy for my liking, swing weight wise. So this is a bit of an experiment shaft for me.
Okay.
With you. I'll talk you through the principle when I've watched it hit a few. But let's see what you think of that one, John.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okie dokie, good to go. Weight actually swings quite nicely for you. I mean, that just their face has just got a little bit shut. Only other thing I can spot, John, is if you set up to one again for me. It maybe just looks like face is just a little bit closed as well. So, I mean, technically, if you just let that driver sit there, that probably looks open to you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's technically how it should sit and lie. When I'm looking from the back, I can pretty much see that. I'd be able to get the fingers here under the head, which basically means that face is going to be at least a couple of degrees closed at setup.
Okay.
So I think for you, obviously, because you do a good job of hitting from the inside and up on it anyway, if we just let that face just sit and then take grip from there. Let's give it one from there. Yeah, good job. Definitely a little bit more flight on that in terms of initial launch. Yeah, a little bit low on the face. Yeah, did a better job there, obviously holding the face off on that one, John. It's obviously corrected flight a little bit. It's just added a little bit of dynamic loft, but that's not a problem. Yeah, good job again. So just without hitting any more shots, how does that feel to swing compared to what you've got already, your gamer?
Yeah, it feels similar.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it feels any less difficult. The head feels actually as though it's like, when I look at it sort of over the ball, it feels like it's already going to be launching it.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's sort of almost like that.
Yeah.
To me, like on the up.
Yeah, it's got more loft on it. So I say it's 12-degree head. I've got it lofted down to 11, which technically opens face angle a little bit. More just because I was trying to just give you a little bit more initial flight and spin. But then the other thing is, obviously, as soon as you start to then hold the face off, that will also add dynamic loft as well. So the thing is there, the last couple that you hit, you did a good job of holding the face off.
Yeah.
So then this number, the magic number for me, dynamic loft-wise with drive is about 15. It tends to be, just from the years of fitting that I've done now, whenever I do driver fits, the number that seems to crop up when I get a driver in the right hands and they're starting to see the right numbers is about 15. So with that particular dynamic there where you've held the face off a little bit and you've got the face to path number under the club path number, that's at 18, which is probably about 3 degrees too much. Yeah. At which point I could probably drop the loft back down to kind of where we are with the gamer. Yeah. But I just wanted to try something with a bit more loft, just to try and give you a bit more launch, a bit more spin to start with. I don't mind the way the shaft moves for it. Actually times quite nicely. Yeah. I've gone Kyoshi HB, so high balance here. Basically, I've given you something where you can pull on the handle, but then there's not too much weight in the head end, so to speak, so it doesn't get too trapped. So then it does come through quite nicely, because I feel like with your technique, if I give you something where it's too heavy down the bottom end, you'll feel like you get stuck, and then you'll be forced to sort of use the right hand to square it up. So actually, I want to try and give you something which is slightly higher back. This is what I mean by it's a bit of an experimental shaft for me. Go a little bit higher, give you something which feels like you can pull on the handle, get it to here, and then you don't have to use your hands to square it up, so you can kind of feel like you hold it off and hopefully just control that face to path number a little bit, which definitely the last couple there were definitely a little bit better. I wouldn't mind just seeing a couple as well. If I tee this down just a little bit for you, again, just experimenting here. I just tee that down just a little bit. I wouldn't mind just seeing a couple where you almost do try and feel like you hit down on it. Okay. Marginally for me, John, just to see. Just want to see if we can get that angle of attack number just down a fraction as well. Just let that head sit on the ground. That's it. Nice. Yep. Try and feel like you just squeeze this one a little bit for me. Good job. Yeah, okay, so I could probably drop a little bit of loft off of that now, because when you do a good job of controlling that face to path number, that's pretty low there. Yeah. I mean, that one spun up a little bit because it's a little bit low on the face. But I could probably just drop the actual loft down on that now, just to try and control that number a little bit better. See if we can just bring those down a fraction. So let me just do that. I mean, head to head, I think slightly better sounding driver than 425.
It feels nice. Definitely feels nice to hit. Yeah. It feels like on the set, like when you said, like put it like on the floor where it should be. It then visually it looks like I'm hitting way out to the right.
Yes.
Just because of what I've been used to with closing it the other way. So
get
that in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's purely just to try and control face angle back at impact. So it's whether that's overcooked and whether it's something that's too much, if that makes sense. But by every degree I effectively take off loft-wise, I'm opening the face by about a degree as well. Right. So I dropped that from 12 to 11. So effectively I've opened it a degree, which then has helped a little bit, because we've definitely started getting the ball started right to target in that sort of little funnel at the back there between the trees, which is what I wanted. So I'm quite happy with that for a start. But let me just try and bring that launch and spin down a bit.
With the tee at the same height?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. You're going to be managing to watch Ryder Cup at the weekend?
I should be.
Yeah.
Because wife's out on Saturday afternoon, so it's quite good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to do the business?
Europe.
Yeah? Yeah. It's funny, I think opinions changed on it, over the last couple of months, because if you'd have said 12 months ago, we looked like we were going to,
I think they normally struggle, don't they, a little bit in Europe as well. So.
Yeah, just home crowd advantage and the course setup and whatnot. Yeah, but I think genuinely the team's looking stronger now as well. Even the rookies who have come up just look super strong, don't they? So
yeah, I always think it's one of those though where you almost like the women, almost better to be a little bit behind on the first day, not as much as what the women were. But
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. I think the Americans, 12 against 12 look a bit stronger. Yeah. So in the singles could be interesting, but I think when you look at some of the pairings we can put out now, they're going to be so steady. You're looking at people like that Ludwig. He's hardly a rookie, is he? You wouldn't want to play him on the Sunday singles, would you? So great golf swing. Right. So I mean, this is exactly the same setup. The only thing I've really changed here for you, John, is I've just dropped in the 10.5 head, still lofted down. Yeah. So it's still going to look a little bit open for you, but it should look less lofted at address. Just again, same thing. Let it sit, tee it down a little bit, squeeze it. And we'll see what we can do with it. Better swing again there, John. Yeah. So again, that was a really nice swing. That was a really nice dynamic, club path into out, as we know, slightly up on it. Good control of the face. I mean, the thing that's mainly made that bend there is actually strike point being on the toe side. Will make it draw. if that was a centre strike, that would have been a much more subtle
If you
shape.
send those to Greg, he'll be well chuffed.
Are these numbers here?
No, the fact that I can hit it out the toe.
Oh, really?
Normally
Is
it's
traditionally out the heel? Yeah, well, naturally, because you're so much
Yeah.
more in to out, that makes sense. And that might be something that obviously encroaches more with the irons and whatnot, being a bit closer to it. But yeah, on that particular shot, I mean, actually, that's a really good set of numbers for a toe strike. And that is one of the reasons I put that ping head in for you as well, because it's so stable at the toe.
Yeah.
I'd probably just like to add a little bit of head weight to that.
Okay.
Just move things around just a fraction, if that's all right.
My lad's banking on me getting new clubs, so he can.
Oh, is he? Okay, he's looking to inherit these ones, is he?
When I got the new ones, I said I'll be able to sell my old clubs. I'll probably get a few £100 for them.
Yeah.
The irons, and he suddenly decided to take golf.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Already lost the pitching wedge out my old. So.
Okay. Right. Has he got the bug? Is he, or is he?
He's annoying because he's 19, so he's at uni, but he's. He literally went to the driving range a few times. Then he came out with me, and because I've been a member at Overston for a while now, they just let him play. Sort of even if it's quiet, they don't charge him.
Sure.
So he's just having a hit with my old clubs. And sort of like one hole, he just leveling it. I'm sure that's gone further than mine. It's like 30 yards further than mine.
Yeah, he's just got good coordination and hand skill.
He's a naturally good sports person, so as soon as he times it, in the end I gave him my driver and he couldn't hit it. I said, it's not that easy, is it?
Good job, John. Yeah. Definitely seeing that sort of low toe strike more often now, which is becoming pretty consistent. So we'll keep an eye on that if we need to just feel like we need to just move the ball positioning as well on the face.
Feels slightly harder to hit, that does.
Okay, just because of the weight, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the weight or, well, it must be if that's the only thing that's changed.
Yeah. Yeah, let me just drop it back off again. It can all of a sudden, it can start to get a bit trapped, and then you have to start using the hands to square it up a little bit more. So it's only, it's only 2-3 grams that, but it's amazing what a difference it makes.
Yeah,
especially because you've got to move. Obviously, you drop it inside from there. So if it gets trapped, or if that sensation of feeling trapped, you've then really got to fetch it with your right hand. And I guess from a fitting perspective, what I've noticed over the last couple of years, the best setups are definitely the ones where people swing them and they use their hands and their arms far less, and it becomes more of a rotational move. You find that when you get the right shaft in somebody's hands, all of a sudden it starts looking less handsy. Yeah. And people just all of a sudden just start to rotate onto it and squaring the club face with their body a little bit more, and then they're just sending it on its path, Whereas when somebody comes in with the wrong setup, for example, if you do just overcook the head weight as a fitter, it starts to look a little bit trapped on the inside, whatever else, and all of a sudden everything's compromised, not just direction but like strike as well, So yeah, it's only 2 or 3 grams that, but it's amazing what a difference it can make. Okay, so I want you to try and maintain the angle of attack that you've been doing, but I'm going to tee it back up again now for you. Bring it back up. That was probably closer there to one of those yellow tees that you get. So bring it back up to pink again. Good job. Definitely low toe again, though.
Yeah. Is that anything to do like how it's positioned at like setter?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, a bit of both, right? Could be just a little bit far away from it. Could be set up on the toe at address. But obviously, dynamically, it could be the club's coming sort of
Yeah.
I know you present it on the inside, but effectively you're dropping it so far inside that you're not getting the club back to centre again. So let's just have a little bit of a play with it. Let's move a fraction closer to it, get it. I definitely feel like with these pings as well, visually, the middle of the face is definitely between the two middle turbulators, but that looks almost heel side. Most people, I feel like they feel more comfortable teeing it up here off the, if they got the outside turbulator here, there's two more as a visual representation. People seem to align it more out of here, but that's actually, as you can see, that's pretty much toe. So I'd say between the two middle turbulators, it's going to look a bit heel side, but that's pretty much the middle of the face.
There.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, technically the middle of that face is right there, John.
Okay.
Right about there.
What are you doing this Saturday and Sunday?
Oh, I'm not cheap, John. Come on. There you go. But do you know what? You're not the first golfer that has happened to with the pink head, with those turbulators, because I think it's a visual thing, and I think it throws people off, and I think it looks more comfortable into the toe area. But where those middle turbulators are is actually the middle of the face on the pings. As soon as you moved it, we found middle strike there, giving you a bit more launch, a bit more spin. A little bit more inside. Yeah. Okay, let's go one more with this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw your driver back into the equation just to see your thoughts on that. Because you did it a really good one with yours as well, but I just wanted to give you something different to compare it against. Okay, and let me give you that one. Just I'll let you have a few hits of it, and then just let me know your thoughts comparatively to the 430 that I've put together there for you. Obviously some subtle differences, grip for one.
The sound on that is much nicer.
Yes, that's definitely the thing that Ping worked on.
Yeah.
And I would say the 430 is closer to the G400 sound that they had in that series, which sounded really good, really solid, was a very popular driver. Better job on the swing, that one there. It's not quite the strike, but dynamics were better. Yeah, you see that with this badass, with it being slightly softer in the tip section, it does give you a little bit more, give you a bit more spin as well when you get it right. I think since you put it back in your hands, I think you've swung it a bit better second time round as well. Again, the only sort of commonality between the drivers is a strike point, and when you middle it, you definitely get a bit more launch and spin. How does it feel to swing compared to this one I put together for you?
I like the feel of that one. I wouldn't say there's loads of difference, but
let me put the badass shaft into this one.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, I'll use your shaft.
Yeah.
Because I can then put it into the flat setting on the head as well. So sort of makes sense. Well, I guess what I'm trying to give you here, John, is something that you can continue your work with Greg. You know, from one series to the next, are we going to see massive jumps in the numbers in terms of distance? Probably not. We might see more improvement with these woods today, just in terms of the playability of them. But you know, this already moved pretty well for you. Obviously, you'd already had this previously fitted. From the 425 to the 430, are you going to see a massive jump? Probably not. I think what we're looking for here is maybe just, I would say maybe 430 is ever so slightly more stable, a couple of percent. I've just noticed that at the toe, this driver's been fantastic this year, and there's no two ways about it, definitely sounds better. Whether that warrants buying a new driver head, I'm not sure, but for some people it does anyway. But let me put this one together for you. Go into flat setting. I do think the fact that you can go into the flat setting with the ping is quite a nice option for you. I think that'll be something that we'll probably explore with the fairway woods as well.
Yeah.
Do you think the slightly bigger element of the grip's quite nice for you as well? That, you know, just the bit more of the taper in the bottom hand of the +4 probably does quite a nice job of just control and face angle for you. Okay, pretty much swinging in the same as yours, so it's pretty much just a direct head-for-head swap, that one. I've got, this is the 10.5 head though.
Okay, yeah. Because what's my other one set to?
Yours is 9 and in the flat setting. But again, I think the only criticism I had of yours is when you did get that one that you turned over, it didn't get enough launch and it probably came out the air a little bit too quick. Became a bit of a runaway train left. Yeah. One thing I'd probably say is just having a bit more loft on the club is going to help you just with that bad one, especially if you hit it out the toe as well. It's just going to keep it in the air a little bit longer. But when you middle it, the numbers, I wouldn't have thought you're going to get dramatically more launch and spin out of it. So I kind of like the idea of a little bit more loft in hand. Now that wasn't bad. Nice set of numbers, launch and spins in quite a nice window, ball speed's good. Again, it's more just directionally that, to be honest with you. If you're aiming that sort of up the right half of the fairway, it probably finished just left half, I'd say. Maybe a little bit more on that one.
Strange, because that one felt like that would have been less to the left.
Less draw?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it's just because I'm used to the shaft, but that it feels nicer on that setup.
Yeah,
with that head.
Yeah.
With this same shaft.
Well, I think it's best of both worlds. I think the head's a slight improvement on the 425.
Yeah.
We know the shaft does a good job for you.
No, I wasn't.
Be interesting, that one. Oh, just again, it's gone.
I'll struggle to play this weekend. Keep hitting them
there. So would you say you see a little less shape than that on the golf course typically?
It will always start right.
Yeah.
But it won't come as far left as that.
Yeah, it'd be a bit more.
I don't know if it's sounds like an excuse, but I don't know if it's because when I'm playing on the course, I've probably got something to aim for. I know you said aim for that gap, but it's probably different in here.
Yeah.
But like when I'm on a course, I know, like on a par 3 it's green or on a fairway of a par 4, I know where I'm aiming.
Yeah.
Probably just, I don't know, maybe not being lazy, but I think I'll probably just focus more on a specific point.
Yeah. Okay.
In here, it's quite hard for me to visualise that.
Yeah, that
gap that you said.
Yeah, sure. Let me see if I've got another hole I can maybe put you on. I mean, what about that one? Anything there, representation-wise, you feel a bit easier to sort of tap into?
Yeah, I don't think it will make it any easier. Inside, it's more about probably just outside. I'm probably more focused. Yeah. Obviously, I want to do well in here. But it's like I probably find it more difficult to pick. Like if you said, right, try and start the ball, like over here. Yeah. I'd almost struggle to get my alignment. Yeah. And the same with Greg. When I have my indoor lessons on. Yeah, no, well, I appreciate, and I've seen that before, because there's a lot of straight lines in here, it's very easy to align straight, but that's not necessarily what you do on the golf course. No. Appreciate that. At which point, we then just have to take the data for what it is.
So if the dispersion circle's finishing left of target, we know, as long as it's consistent, right?
Yeah.
And the rest of the other numbers are in a good spot, then actually you taking it out to the golf course and lining it slightly differently, that's going to be more shot direction. But what as a fitter, what I'm looking for, I mean, obviously I'm looking for direction, but what I'm really looking for is consistency of strike, the numbers in terms of launch and spin and ball speed to be in the right spot. And then generally when then somebody takes a setup out onto the golf course, they make it their own and they do their thing, if that makes sense. So it's not the first time I've heard somebody who aligns slightly different indoors to outdoors, because obviously you haven't got as many square lines around you when you're on the course, right? You know, and I think that's typically something that guys who pull draw it, not that they struggle indoors, but they find alignment a bit more difficult because, and the reason I know this is because I used to be a pull drawer myself, right? In terms of I used to aim right at target and then I used to look over my left shoulder.
Yeah.
I felt like I was aimed perfectly at you, but then I'd get if I put a club down by my feet, I'm aiming closer to where your driver is. Nothing wrong with that, and I would pull draw it back onto target. But then, as soon as I got into a fitting bay with a lot of straight lines around me, I would typically finish left of target. So, could be a bit of that as well, definitely.
When I look at that ball flight, I might be wrong, but like lad who I work with, I was against him in a pairs comp the other week, and they're really low handicappers, and me and my mate managed to beat him, and he was like, you missed the whippy because I was whipping it round. Whereas that, for me, that doesn't feel like it's whipped right to left. It feels like it's gone higher, whereas my ones in the comp that I'm on about started low and got the run out. Yeah. But, you know, if that's the sort of optimum height, they were sort of like here.
Right.
So it's still going distance-wise, but it wasn't a good shot. Yeah. Whereas that looks like it's gone higher.
Yeah, it's definitely got more flight to it. No two ways about that. And in terms of it, it's got more height on it on average. Yeah. So I mean, you hit one really good one with the original 6 that I asked you to hit. I just feel like these have got a bit more flight to them to be a little bit friendlier out on the golf course. That's sort of what I mean by that dispersion circle. You know, if I get rid of this one here, which was just a bit of an anomaly. You know, one thing you'd say about that group in there is it's consistent. Yeah. I'm not sure I can necessarily today correct that dispersion via club, if that makes sense. That's more Greg's bag than mine. But I can't argue with the numbers that you're consistently producing with it in terms of the launch and the spin are in a really good spot. And what I mean by that is if I look at the optimizer tool, everything's really efficient. It's in a good spot, and we're starting to see that flight pretty consistently there for you as well, John. Yeah. So I think a little bit extra loft. I think that head on that shaft is doing quite a nice job for you. I do like the idea of the 10.5 rather than the 9, and I do like the idea of flatter setting, and I do like the idea of the back weight being into the toe area as well to support any strikes out of the toe, which seems to be today anyway. The predominant miss in terms of strike pattern.
Can I just hit a couple more?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I do think that's progress there.
Yeah.
Sorry, there you go.
That's dead straight.
But do you know what I mean? At this point in time, all those shots are very close together. They're all very consistent flight. I know they're left of target, but really it becomes more of an alignment thing than anything else. Yeah, that swing's really nice, I have to say. That's the best of the bunch because that's the most neutral.
That felt better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that felt like in my in my lessons, Greg's been trying to get me to feel as though, not taking it outside, but feel as though I'm sort of keeping the club head looking at the ball for longer. Right. And then sort of up. Yeah. Whereas I was tending to come inside and then round.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like quitting on that one though.
Yeah. I think the other thing is by letting that face just settle behind the ball as well. I think that's helped just square the face off a little bit. That one's a bit left.
The one before felt.
Yeah, I mean the one before was the benchmark, right, which we're sort of looking at. Yeah, numbers are in great spot, 4 yards there. Don't get me wrong, it's not greatly different to the best one that you hit with yours, but in terms of the best shots, but I do feel like the average is a bit better. So I mean, I've taken out maybe just that one there, and then if I look at the comparison against your original set that you hit for me, I know we've done a little bit of swing work there as well. If we take out this guy. So we've got the blue is your driver there, and we hit obviously the original set, and then we hit the second set.
So sorry, that's my old driver, is it?
This one here in the blue is your original, yeah. So we hit a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, about five shots with it, and then we hit another series of a couple more drives to add to it. But that's pretty much, that was your driver, 9 degree, G425, and that's pretty much where we were with it. So club head speed's pretty much identical to the new setup. You've got ball speed there's up a little bit with the new G430. Efficiency's up a fraction. Launch is definitely up.
Yeah.
The spin, interesting enough, is stabilised. In fact, if anything, it's come down a little bit, which is going to make it efficient. You can see quite a jump in terms of the carry distance there of 30 yards, and again, near enough 30 yards in terms of total distance as well. So just having that extra bit of flight on it is keeping the air keeping the ball in the air a little bit longer. Directionally, I think that would be more alignment, and then obviously passing you back to Greg from a coaching perspective. But I think the way that times and the concept, the idea it's giving you a flight is better for you, John.
And that will definitely sort of like last for me to sort of have those lessons. So if I suddenly pull that club path and the flight comes back more on that sort of line that we had on the screen, that's going to be fine for me, is it?
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, the best one that you hit with it, which was that one there, which was the most neutral. I mean, again, the launch and the spin is still in a really nice window for you. So I think it allows you to move right back to I mean, look, if you come in and you start hitting nice little 2-yard draws, maybe come back and we can explore it a little bit further. But I haven't got that in the exact settings I have got that in the exact settings I'd like to get it in now. But what I mean is, in terms of moving forwards, you could move it further, so you could open the face a little bit with it, you know, so you could make it a 10.5, playing at 9.5 if you wanted to. So you've got plenty of life in it. If you do get to a stage where you're swinging it completely different after a lot of swing work, then come back and see us, and then it's a different conversation. But I feel like for the duration of the next part of the journey with your swing, that will definitely see you through, and I think it'd be a lot friendlier off the tee, get you in play, and allow you to sort of move forward. It's quite a simple change. That it's only head, but I think loft, face angle, things like that, settings generally make a big difference. And I do feel like that head's a better head off the toe area and low off the face than what the 425 was. And I know that because I played this head myself, and I think that's a move forwards for ping. So I think that would be a nice easy swap to start with. I don't feel it's worth necessarily going into the TaylorMade, for example, the Stealth 2s. I think they're a little bit too low spin for you. I think we'd be back to square one, even in a 10.5 degree head. Similar sort of concept with the Paradigm. Titleist TSR2, TSR3, great heads, but I don't feel like they're as stable MOI-wise as what the ping is. So I think
I probably like the concepts as well of not necessarily moving away on my driver to another type of head. Probably like sticking with ping feels more what I'm used to. With the other woods, I'm happy to.
Okay, let me put a spec down for that one for you. Just check the swing weight. And obviously you're familiar with the shaft, and it was nice trying the Kyoshi, and it did swing nicely, it did swing freely for you, but I think the Badass does a good job for you as well. So I think for the time being, again, you're getting a nice little bit of performance out of the head. And then if things really dramatically changed, 12 months, 24 months down the line, you could come back and it might be a shaft change, and then there'll be some new gear up by that point as well anyway to potentially explore. But I do feel like that's going to be a pretty hard head for Ping to beat over the next couple of generations. I mean, they always do a good job of it, but I feel like they've really, they've done a really nice job on that. Great. Okay. Right, I'll put yours back together shortly. Right, let's get into the fairway woods then. So it was a similar sort of story, really. I did feel like particularly the free wood just looked a little bit too hard to hit. A little bit redundant, wasn't really giving us enough sort of carry yardage to sort of warrant its place in the bag. In fact, you can see there you hit the 5 wood further, and on a better flight, I mean around 12 to 13 degrees and around 3,000 RPMs. 2.8 to 3,000 is probably where I want to see a really good fairway wood flight. So you're closer to that with the 5 wood than you are with the 3 wood. So I feel like I could split the difference between them, you know, maybe build you a 4 wood. So it's something with a 5 wood loft, but it's got the length in terms of shaft to give you the speed and the elevation that you'd get in a 5 wood effectively. I think that'd be quite a nice way, quite a nice route to go down. Again, I do like the ideas of the idea of the pings because you can put it in the flat setting, and it's quite a shallow head, which encourages more sort of flight out of it as well. So I'll probably start with that. The tackless heads could be quite a nice option for you here as well, but I'll start with the pings just because I think shallower head typically create a bit more launch, a bit more spin than some of the other manufacturers, especially the TaylorMades and the Callaways. And then I quite like the idea of keeping length of shaft so we can try and generate a bit of speed to create some more launch. But just to sort of show you where we were. That was a couple with the 3 wood, which was there. Got rid of one as well, and then that was your 5 woods. But yeah, we should be kind of closer to, well, much further up than where we are there typically. I mean, actually, the way I like to fit fairway woods is wherever the carry distances for driver, that's where I almost want the total distance of my fairway wood to be. So, you know, you've seen there the best ones that you've hit. You're at 214 total, so it's a little bit on the short side really. We're not getting the most out of it. So more flight required. You can see there that was the best one that you hit with your 5 wood, and we were at 128 mile an hour ball speed, 140 smash, where 150 is really where we're trying to get to. And with the 3 wood, that was probably the best one that we hit with it. Again, good smash, but it just no flight. So let me try and set up a similar sort of concept to what we did with the driver there. Give you a bit more loft in hand, see if we can get you a bit more flight. And then I think similar sort of idea where I was asking you to maybe squeeze it a little bit with driver. I think probably a nice sensation with the fairway wood as well, because you definitely hit up on it. You can get away with it when you got it teed up with driver. With the fairway was there a little less forgiving with that action. So put one together.
So you use this off the tee as well as the deck?
Ideally, you know, ideally with the fairway woods, I want them to do both jobs for you. To be honest, John, I feel like I get a lot of customers come in and they've got a 3 wood, which is just a tee club, and then they've got a 5 wood or a 7 wood, which is just. But ideally, you're sort of almost wasting a club in the bag because how often are you pulling just 3 wood on the tee? Really, I mean, it's definitely more efficient. In the bag, if it does both jobs for you, and then you can use that extra club for something else, for another shot that you might need it for in the round, whether it be a hybrid, you know, something that launches it up and lands it softly, or another wedge, another option around the green. So I think if you just got one fairway wood which is just for tees and one which is just for off the decks, it's almost just a little bit of a waste of space in the bag. So ideally that does a little bit of both for you.
Okay.
I've got that at 15 degrees, G430 max, 15 degrees in the flat setting. So I haven't added or subtracted any loft. And then I've gone into their stock outer CB shaft at 65, because that's going to be quite a nice weight for you. Just to start with, I've got an aftermarket shaft here to try as well, but I do feel like the stock option could be quite nice for you here. So it's the outer CB 65 in the SR. All right, should be good to go. Take you a couple to get used to it after hitting off the tee for 30 odd balls or so, 40 odd balls. Cool. Just last couple of swings maybe just looked a little bit light in the head, so I'll see one more with it. I might just pop a bit more weight in the head for you. think it's a little bit light. It's not quite dropping in on the transition, so I'll just flip that weight for you. Thank you. Might just be within the fairway wood. This just hasn't got enough down the bottom end for you. So just nice one to start with, but got something else we can flip into pretty quickly here. Better strike. Bit more like it.
Oh, God.
Nice strike again, John. So compared to your TaylorMades, how does that sort of feel and swing comparatively?
A lot better. I've hated hitting those over.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot different.
Yeah. Anything in particular? The weight,
It
the balance, the head?
It feels a slightly heavier, I think. That's my 5.
I'll give you, that's the 3.
Yeah, so that feels like it's got more weight at the bottom of the club, whereas that just feels light. That feels like it's going to go really whippy.
You feel like you can just lose it left, yeah. Good strike again. Definitely picking the ball up better off the turf.
Yeah.
Contact's a little bit low on the head, so spin's a little bit higher than where I'd like it to be. But, I mean, it's still going longer than what you were getting out of the TaylorMades, because the TaylorMades didn't have enough spin, so they were sort of nose diving out the air too quickly. Whereas, okay, that spin's a little bit higher, the launch and the spin's a little bit higher than what I would want it to be perfectly, but it's giving you 210 carry, 227 total, so it's longer than where the TaylorMades are. It's doing it in the right way, and then again, it gives you something with Greg to work on technique-wise, where, I mean, ideally you'd move that strike up the face, that therefore will then bring the spin down and give you a bit more penetration in the flight.
That feels really nice.
Yeah, it's great. We're starting to see some nice, you know, a bit like with the driver, we're starting to see a bit of consistency, and we can work with that, right? You know, I think that's one of the jobs of a club fitter is you can't always fix a particular shot shape when somebody comes in here, but you're not necessarily always looking to correct it. It's just give the golfer something where he can go back to coach with, and he can continue his good work, you know. If I look at dispersion there, I mean,
that was tight,
apart from just that one there, the rest of them are, I mean, that's, you know, 5 yards left, 5 yards right for reference, 10 yards fairway, it's pretty tight. It's the width of these 2 bays here, so you'd be happy with any of those, with that one probably being the best of the bunch, in quite a nice window, with a bit more to come really, because 1.40, that's telling me that there's a little bit more efficiency to tap into there. And that was based on a strike which was pretty low toe as well. So again, they've done a really good job ping on the fairway woods, really stable across the face. They sit much shallower than a lot of the other fairway woods in the industry, so they're able to effectively, you know, give you a bit more pickup off the deck. I mean, if anything, I could maybe even just bump the loft down a fraction there. I also like the idea of the flatter setting in this for you. Just helps control face
I like
angle.
that. Also as well, I'm so used to, I suppose, like the black head of the driver. As soon as visually, when I put that down, that just looks better at the ball compared to what I've got.
Sure, yeah.
Although for my son, they're perfect.
Well, good product, good head, you know, good combination of head and shaft there from the Sims. They were very popular when they came out, but I think this one here just fits the bill a bit better in terms of the way I can just get that face angle set up for you. The only other head I could probably do it with would be the Titleist head, because they've got the Sure Fit on there and it enables me to go a bit flatter with the setting, but it's quite unusual. Actually, most product you can go more upright, but you can't go flatter. Right. So the Ping's kind of unique in that regard. It's why it's probably a good fit for yourself, John. So I've now taken that. So that's the 18-degree head, the 5-wood head, but I've knocked it down to 17, just to see if we can just give you a little bit more. I put 15 on there, which is wrong to start with. At 17. Correct that now. Modify. Okie dokie. I'll let you picture. I mean, sometimes if you can't necessarily picture on the screen, I would encourage you to picture a shot on the course that you would be hitting this club into, a whole particular scenario. Yeah, it's a weird one, whether it's just face angle or whatever else, but I mean, you haven't struck that particular setting quite as well. Let me throw it back into the original setting, just have a look. It could just be a series of swings, or it could be actually just you're reacting to something that you see in there, but let's just test it out. We're fickle golfers, you know.
It's weird. As soon as you know something's changed, it's like...
Yeah, well, definitely, absolutely. And just we react to small things as well. You know, it's amazing actually how we react to face angle and slight changes in weight and whatever else. I think we're much more sort of tuned into stuff than we give ourselves credit for more often than not. I mean, with a fairway wood, you know, I do find with some customers, if I give them something and it doesn't look like there's enough loft on it, they can change technique because they feel like they're having to launch the ball. One of the things some people like is with the Pings especially, is because of the markings on the face, it looks like it's got a bit more loft on it. So. Yeah, it almost just looks a little bit more comfortable in that standard flat setting, John. Yeah. So whether it's just maybe just because of the way it sits and face angle, you just trust it a bit more. Hard to say, but. Oh yeah, better. That's a nice one.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Prefer that.
Spun a lot off the bottom of the face, but I'm sure I'll check that ball as well. Just checking the ball was okay, but no, it's just spun up a fraction more, that one, just because it was quite low on the face. But even still, it's still giving you more flight than you were getting at the TaylorMade.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I feel like it's those two effectively, we're sort of bringing those two together, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let's hit one off the tee. See what you can get out of it off the tee as well. Is that how you'd normally tee it, would you say, or?
Yeah, maybe a fraction lighter, but that's...
Yeah.
Give it a go. I'm seeing Greg next Friday.
Yeah.
Could be a week too late.
So again, because it's teed up, I think the temptation is to start maybe trying to sweep it a bit too much, and then that brings in that deep lane to the left. So again, same thing, try and squeeze it, try and feel like you hold the face off for me. Yeah, good job. I think that's a secret for you, John, at the moment. Just where you are. Obviously, when you go to see Greg, you'll do some more maintenance on the swing, but that seems to help control that face angle number. Face to path keeps that under the club path, and it just keeps things under control. You know, it keeps you on the course, so to speak. So again, a little bit low on the head, so it's spun up a little bit, but it's gone 216, and it's in play.
Yeah.
And I prefer that. I feel as you polish your dynamics up, I think you'll get more. You get a better flight out of this by the centre strike as well. Just for my own curiosity, because we've hit the 5-wood so well, the head. Just want to throw the 3-wood head on, just to see, because I think that the complete change in shape and the flat setting, everything else is just made it play so much more easier for you than the TaylorMade has. So let me just see if you could actually play the 3-wood loft. Okay, so that's the 3-wood head there. So that's 15. Okay. Weighted up exactly the same. Shaft's the same on it, John. So I just want to see if.
Do you want to do it off the tee or?
Let's get it off the deck just to start with, and then we can tee a few up. Because I think my only criticism there was maybe off the tee, the flight of the 5-wood head was maybe just a fraction high. Okay. Which you might say, well, okay, just for the time being, that's fine. It gets me up the hole in play. Yeah. But if we can clip this one away off the deck, then this will be a really interesting club for you. Well, plenty of flight on that one anyway. Yeah. A little bit low on the head, that one. Not bad for direction though. I think that's maybe the only risk is when you don't quite get it right with the 15-degree head, we won't get enough flight on it, whereas we didn't seem to get quite as much of that with the higher lofted 5-wood head, or the 4-wood setting as I'd call it. What's your sort of thoughts on it, John? Where would you feel most comfortable with it from a loft perspective, do you think?
The other one felt easier to hit.
Yeah.
Definitely felt easier to hit.
Yeah. A little bit friendlier to look down on as well, seeing a bit of loft off the deck. I think for you that's quite nice because I think it almost encourages you to do what will make you a better fairway wood player, which is effectively pinch it. Yeah. Because I think that the bad shot for you comes from when that angle of attack gets too much upwards, which is what Greg will work on with you. Seeing a bit more loft then allows you to feel like you can go that way down after it and pinch it, and therefore you'll get a better flight. if you look at any of the best fairway wood players in the world, and one that comes to mind has always been like Sergio, for example, Sergio Garcia, you know, would typically, if anything, would even take a slight little divot when he hits down on it, you know, and he pinches his fairway woods and he gets that nice piercing flight, and he was always such a good fairway wood player. And same for you. I think seeing a bit of loft on the face allows you to maybe feel like you can go down after it, whereas the less loft you've got, the more temptation there is to maybe feel like you've got to help it. So I think that sort of clears it up for me. I think I'd probably go a bit more loft, I think, John. Yeah, when you get it, takes a bit of spin off, but it's the bad one that I'm sort of scared of, where you lose flight altogether. Yeah. So I think we'll go with the other one.
Okay.
Just before I sign that one off, what I'd like to do is just give you one other shaft to try. So that is the Mitsubishi C6 Blue 60 gram. Put that onto the 430 max and 18 degrees. So this is it's a forward. I've built a forward here for C6.
Is it heavier, the shaft, than the other one?
It's well, what it is it's heavier in terms of it's more of a mid-balance point shaft. Right. The outer CB basically stands for counterbalance, is more of a higher balance point shaft. So the dead weights here aren't hugely different, but the balance points are different. How does it feel to swing?
At the minute, it probably doesn't feel as smooth.
It's comfortable, yeah. Yeah, just moving the balance point down the shaft, it looks a little bit more hard work for you off the deck. Does, whereas the more mid balance point of the badass looks you know, like you can handle it because the ball's up and you're able to hit up on it. Because I'm trying to get you to squeeze it a bit more with the fairways, it's starting to look a bit stuck, and you're not able to quite get the club back square, so it just looks like you can't quite time it as well. I see one more with it, but I think this answers our questions anyway.
Typical.
Yeah, not a bad one, but I do agree. It doesn't look like it swings as comfortably as easy.
Hard work to do that one.
Yeah. And, you know, the thing is, and this is where club fitting comes in, right? Is that if it gives you a club and give you long enough to work with it, you'll find a way to hit it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best fit. What I'm looking for is, like I mentioned earlier on, to give you the one where it looks just nice and rotational. You use your body to square the face up rather than the hands, and that allows you to be a bit more consistent. That one there just got a bit more hands about it. Yeah. So I've no doubt you could hit it and you can hit that, you can produce that shot with it, but it's just the consistency and just how easy it is to do day in, day out. So, so cool. All right, that answers my question anyway. So what that's effectively done then is just, as I say, amalgamate the 3 and the 5 wood, I think there does a good job. So you've almost got a bit of a free place in the bag there now, where you could potentially introduce a 4-iron or another hybrid or whatever else, but we'll work into hybrid now. See what we can do on that for you. So I think I mentioned about your existing hybrid. It was just a little bit on the heavy side for me in terms of the swing weight. It looked a little bit stuck. Didn't look like it swung as well for you. So again, without only seeming like we're trying one brand here, but again, I like the idea of the ping because I can put it into that flat setting again. I can go into the outer CB shaft, which is a similar sort of concept that we've tried today. So it kind of makes sense on paper. So I'm going to start there.
Yep, it's fine.
Doesn't mean it's going to work, because driver to 3-wood to hybrid, they're all completely different beasts. They need to be hit in a different way, and we want them to perform in a different way. So it's not always the case that a head and a shaft within a brand will work. I know you've got TaylorMade here throughout, but I think sometimes people fall into the trap of thinking, oh, because the freewood works or because the hybrid works, the fairwood will work, or vice versa. But to be honest, we quite often here fit different brands for all 3 or 4 clubs, just because they are completely different animals in terms of the way that you want them to perform and be hit, basically. So I'll start with the ping. Makes sense on my head on paper, but we'll see how you get on with it. No problem. Put the freewood down for you quickly. I think the other thing that sort of helped with golf and fitting and coaching now as well for the guys is that professional golf is pretty much on all year round. And so there's always something for somebody to watch and be involved in as well from a professional standpoint. So obviously there's a massive buzz around golf this week with it being Ryder Cup week. And so, just naturally people are still involved in the game coming into sort of out of summer and into the winter time, you know. I just feel like the season's a lot longer than it used to be. So I've gone into the 22 degree head here. So obviously you've got a 19. Yeah. So weaken the loft off a little bit here. 22, 4 hybrid, traditionally seen as a 4-iron replacement. But again, I think for you, obviously the loft is the key in terms of giving you the flight on this particular club. That's not to say that, you know, potentially you wouldn't have a free hybrid as well. Because now you've got that gap in the bag if you wanted it. You might find the free hybrids a little bit easier for you to hit than a longer fairway would per se. Yeah. Wedged itself in there. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. Yeah. I think I've got another anyway, but just seems to be a bit sticky. Not a bad flight, like that one. How's that feeling so far?
Yeah, so far so good.
Yeah.
On that one.
Again, I've got that, so I've got that in the flat setting for you. Yeah. Which just brings that toe down. I think that's really important with the hybrids. Very nice. Doing a really nice job of controlling the face on that one, John.
Yeah. So distance-wise, like, is there much between that and my 5-iron? I guess it's almost like, when would I use this as opposed to my 5-iron?
I mean, technically, you're spot on. Right there, there isn't a huge amount of difference between them right now. A little bit that's probably come down to the fact that I think as the session's gone on, you've gotten a little bit better at holding the face off and controlling that dynamic loft, and therefore, I mean, 19 degrees isn't a bad dynamic loft number that you've got there, but the way that you're presenting it is popping the launch and the spin up. The only issue I've ever got is as soon as I give you less loft, if you don't quite get the technique right, we start to lose flight again. But I feel a little bit more comfortable doing it with the hybrid than I did with the fairway woods, because a little bit shorter, a bit more controllable. So I could possibly go back into the 19 degree head here, because the shaft and the setup generally looks like it swings really nicely for you. You look like it's a little bit easier for you to control that face angle a little bit more. So let me just throw that back in for you. I mean, those shots you've hit there have been...
Those felt right.
Yeah, from a dispersion perspective, been great there. One a little bit left, but these 3 perfectly playable. And they're all sort of a similar distance. So yeah, they're a little bit short on where we want that gap to be. Especially as we've created a little bit more of a gap with now that the fairway wood's got a bit more flight to it as well.
It's just whether like that club will be better for me, like if I'm just off like the edge of the fairway.
Yeah.
In particular,
then a
the
5-iron
gets a little bit wetter. Sometimes with my 5-iron, I find that quite a tricky shot.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we might have just stumbled on a nice replacement for the 5-iron there. Now that you've got that extra space in the bag, you might find that actually you could, to be honest with you could play the 5-iron and you could play that as well, technically. If you wanted the 5-iron to be able to flight it a bit more. And then you wanted the hybrid to be able to knock it up out of that sort of semi-rough lie. You know, that's what I mean. That's why by not having a club that's just taken up in the bag for the sake of it, you have now got that option to use it somewhere else quite nicely. I also think, as well, as you continue to improve on your technique and work with Greg, as your long iron striking gets better, that's where more gaps start to sort of appear. So you might not want to fill the gap straight away, but you might find in 12 months' time, actually, now I've got a gap between 5-iron and where 4-iron would be on my free hybrid, and I need to put something in there. Just add a little bit of headweight to that one. So that's the 19-degree head, that one. Okay. Same shaft setup, same length, etc.
So what's this, the equivalent of a 4-iron now, is it? Or
no.
Is it the same just with a
So technically the 4 hybrid, which is the 22, which is the one we just hit, that would be the equivalent of probably the modern day 5-iron or the 5-iron, sorry, the 4-iron within your set. 19 is probably closer to a 3-iron. Right. So this would be a direct 3-iron replacement, typically a 5 wood's about 18 degrees. So obviously the new wood that I've just fitted for you, the 4 wood, has got 18 degrees on it, but then it's got the 3 wood length shaft. So I know the lofts seem quite close together here at the top of the bag, but shaft length and then shaft material is playing a big part in terms of the amount of speed you're able to generate and therefore distance as well. Do you like the way this shaft moves for you though?
Yeah.
Looks very, very controllable. See, that's bumped it up a little bit, 190-202, but still with plenty of flight. Come back nicely, 198-215, so that starts to fill that gap quite nicely then. Oh, that sounded good. Yeah. That's a bit of a ripper, that one. And that's almost gone out to forward distance, but I think that we know that you've got potential with the forward, you've got potential with this. Nice again. How's that one feeling?
That's nice.
Looks like you could stand there and produce that all day, John, to be honest. It looks really consistent for you. Oh yeah. Yep.
I'm not going to make another one with that.
No, I don't think you need to. Absolutely perfect. I mean, I think the question.
Still quite low as well.
Yeah, still a little bit low on the head, which is natural because your angle of attack is a little bit up. So again, work with coach as you start to work that angle of attack down a little bit. And with a hybrid, we would typically be looking to get that into a minus number there. That will also correct strike, which then takes a little bit of spin off the ball. Takes a little bit of loft off the ball because dynamically you're producing a different loft. So then your flight changes more via technique than it does club per se. But actually, I think the club would perform stronger for you. I guess the only question would be, is it worth having the 19 in and is it worth having the 22 in, almost as the club that you can hit as well as a 5-iron, but you're able to flight it, if that makes sense.
So, right, so just talking through that. So that was, so think about my 5-iron. So my 5-iron was what, 1 185.
185 would make sense. You're about 170, 175 with 6, so natural 10-yard progression. So 185 with 5 iron.
So I did hit some, didn't I, with the 5 irons?
You did, yeah.
Check what I got.
So if I just, best way to probably do it is to show you the dispersion, which is that there. Yeah, so they were the ones that we hit there. Let me have a little look at carry instead. So that one there, 176, 182, which makes a bit more sense. And on a good day, I'd say 185 would make sense. 180 to 185. At which point we're then looking probably 10 to maybe 15 yards to our next club. There's a bit more of a gapping between as we go up to the top end of the bag than there is at the bottom end of the bag. You want it to probably be about 10 yards between clubs at the bottom, but as we go into irons, into hybrids, you might experience maybe 15. So let's say 185, 200 yards. Okay, that's pretty much what you've just produced with the hybrid there. So your last strike, take out that guy there. So if we look at that one, the last one that you've hit that 204, and that was about as middle as you can, 148 smash. That's about as good as it's going to get, John. So that's in the right that's in the right wheelhouse technically. It was just whether you found it easier to hit and flight the 4 hybrid or the 22 degree. Let's just call it a 22. Let's forget what it's called, 3 or 4. Let's just call it the 22 degree hybrid. Whether you find that easier to hit than your 5 iron, I guess.
I'm probably more edging towards at the minute going with this one, going with the 19 degree.
Yeah, see how that performs.
And then the forward, and then always got the
opportunity to sort of add it if you want it. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's merits to both, right? The hybrids are great. They create a bit of extra launch, a little bit easier to hit out a semi-rough. 5 irons technically a little bit easier to manoeuvre in terms of flight, trajectory, direction. So there's merits to have both.
If I think about our course, I'm probably not going to hit many drives where I'm off the fairway, where I'd need to then hit a 5 iron distance because it's not a long course.
Right.
So if I sort of get the driver sort of 230, 240, and it tends to be sort of 7, 6 iron.
Yeah.
Par 5 is obviously different, but then I wouldn't then choose to hit a 5 iron if I'm just on the edge on a par 5. I'd just take one of these.
You'd be pulling the wood or the hybrid. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. I think that's at that point. Let's do that then. So that's the 19. Yeah. Set at 19 in the flat setting. Again, from looking at other options I could potentially give you off the rack. I mean, the only other head that I can get into a flatter setting is the Titleist head. I'll be honest, I think that's probably... I think that's probably, in terms of visuals, in terms of forgiveness, probably a little bit more forgiving than the Titleist. The Titleist, great head, feels great for manoeuvrability, but that's probably a little bit more stable. So I think for you right now, where we're just trying to add a bit of stability at the top end of the bag, I do think the pings would be a nice choice for you. I know it seems like we've gone mainly in that direction, but to be honest with you, just because of what I saw in the original setups for you, I knew that we had to go into those flat settings to try and help things, and I feel they've absolutely nailed that for you today. So 19, then the 5 wood head on the 3 wood shaft, so the 4 wood, so that's 18, with the ability to loft that down over time if you feel like you need to, and then you'd be going into the 10.5 G430 Max head, again in that 10.5 setting, on the existing Badass 60S shaft on there, which we know swung quite nicely for you. So ping for at the top end of the bag, but I think they've done a really nice. I'm quite happy with that. Throughout, if I look at, looks a bit busy, but let me just polish these up for you really quickly. I think what's interesting there, John, is so they're your drivers. So we started to find a really nice consistent flight, a little bit left of target, but I think outdoors you would correct that from an alignment perspective, and I think you mentioned that you probably aim a bit more right out on the golf course, and I tend to agree. So let's just say, for argument's sake, this dispersion is an extra sort of 15 yards to the right-hand side there, then lovely and consistent, consistent distance, better flight at the 10.5 degree head, and then the 2 dispersion circles here. I mean, I guess you would say, or they're a bit close together. I mean, a little bit that comes down to the fact that you hit the 3 hybrid so well. But I would say the potential of the forward, there's more to come with that, with a bit of work. So I would expect that dispersion circle to sort of move up to this area.
I think once I've got confident with it, and I've had a few more lessons with Greg, and I'm practice on my own on the course,
Yeah.
I think I'll definitely benefit on
Absolutely, yeah. Whereas I think the hybrid just went straight in and you just started bombing it straight away. If anything, it almost exceeded expectation. So that's great. That's good to know. But I do feel like there's probably from a dispersion perspective, there's from a distance perspective, there's a little bit more to get out that forward, and I'd like to see the forward probably in this area here, and then there'll be a little bit of a separation then between the dispersions of about 15 yards. Then
those numbers are on the bottom there on the blue, are they? On the which club are they on?
So this is the free wood,
yeah,
and these are the free hybrids.
Yeah.
Total distance. But as I say, I would expect you to, when you're really bombing it, because you've got a 140 smash there.
Yeah.
So nice shots, 140, 143. But if we start getting that 148 smash like we were getting with the hybrid, which was that there, which is super efficient, then I would, based on the club head speed being 95 versus an 89, so 6 miles an hour, really we're due a bit more distance out of the forward, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
So with a better strike, with a bit of work, I should expect a 235 sort of total distance out of it, to be honest with you. So, nice to know. That's pretty much where we are with it.
Cheers.
Right. Spot on.
What's the lead time on clubs?
We're working off about 4 to 6 weeks, probably closer to 6 weeks at the moment. Time to get the gear in. One of the beauties is that we'll be waiting for one head, and then we're working with stock shafts here that will obviously pure and build up to the correct spec for you. So, it's just how quickly we can get things off of ping, and then how quickly we can get it into the build schedule for the boys in the shop there.
And then it'll be a case of coming back down and obviously just giving you
options at that point in time. We can ship it up to you, or you can come down and collect it up to you.
It's easier to ship it from my perspective, because of the like it's a 4 and a bit hour.
Oh no, for sure,
journey,
absolutely.
And
probably it costs less to ship it, right?
Sorry, electric car. So.
Okay.
But then I've then got to get the head put in, haven't I, on the shaft?
Yeah, so the options with that would be we could have it collected from you, DPD. So we would basically, when the shaft is coming and it's ready, you'd pay your shipping. You could take a box, or you grab a box which you could fit the head in, just put it all in, and then what we would basically do is we would sort out the DPD shipping. We'd send you the label, you put it on the box, they come and collect it from the house, and then they ship it back. Be back with us the next day. Again, saves you having to drive the round trip just to get one component back to us. To be honest, John, that'd be the best way. That'd be the best way to do it. Basically, the shaft it would be. Sorry, wouldn't it?
Shaft,
I'd give you a box today, put it in, and just send it back to us. Yeah. Just one final question on my side. Grips. Yeah. You're happy with the
exactly the
+4? Yeah, the +4s and the greys. +4 grey.
Yeah, because I think if I deviate away from that, I think I'm going to then feel different when I'm on my irons.
Totally agree. You want to keep continuity throughout the bag from the irons into the woods, and I do like the idea of the less tapered bottom hand for you. I think it would just help square things off a little bit as well. So I'm a drawer of the ball, and I play a +4 myself. I just think it just helps control my. I'm very right-sided. I'm always trying to take my right side out of play. So the idea of that grip is I just feel like a bit more neutral with my right hand. So I like the idea of it. Yeah. So I think for you, I'll keep that the same. Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.